Welcome to This Week in Anderson High School Sports here on ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports. My name is Jason Graver. We're back with Anderson AD Chris Newton and Assistant AD Zach McCormick. Gentlemen, we got a lot to get into and not a lot of time to do it this week. A lot of things going on. Let's jump right in. And let's start on the diamond once again. A baseball team coming into today looking to get to 500 in the league after an 0-2 start, and most recently coming off of a huge win against New Richmond over the weekend by a final of 13-2. Newt, we talked last week about the way the team was swinging the bats and the way that they've been really knocking the cover off the ball early on in the season. But I have to imagine also now at this point, as we're starting to hit the meat of conference play, it's a pretty good feeling to see the pitching staff go out against New Richmond and put up a four hitter there and win that one before you've got 4 league games in the next 6 days.
Oh, there's no doubt. And, when you play you obviously you have your conference starters, your hammers that are going to go. And then a lot of those times on the Saturday games, you look to see who's available. And when you have pitching like that on a Saturday with kids stepping up and throwing, I think what was the score, 11-2 or something like that, or 13-2. I mean, that's incredible. And so things are clicking right now for these kids. And, as we talked about with Coach Martin, kind of in the coaching staff, kind of figuring some things out. I think they got some things going right now. We got one of our injured kids back. Joey Faulkner's back, and he's a phenomenal athlete, and he's ready to go. So the coaches are turning him loose. I think his first game swinging a bat was Friday against Lebanon, which we had a great Josh Peterson had a walk-off hit for us to win that game. So I think we're excited, and we got some good weather coming, and we're ready to roll.
Hopefully the good weather stays, and we maybe a little bit of a warm up too. It's been kind of chilly for mid-April here, but nevertheless, hopefully the rain holds off. They can get these games in because it's an important stretch coming up. Zach, let me switch over to you. Let's talk about the softball team. Busy stretch for them as well. We kind of jokingly talked about who made these schedules up because there's just seemingly so few days off, but softball team's got 4 games coming up scheduled anyway in the next 4 or 5 days, a couple of those with Winton Woods. And right now in a stretch of a lot of time away from home, in a stretch of 7 of 8, I believe it is, on the road right now. So big stretch early on in the season right there. How are they feeling at the onset of this stretch where they're going to spend a lot of time away from Anderson High School?
To be honest, the girls are just excited to play. They have been, I tell you what, on Saturday, their game versus St. Ursula was, it's why we do this job, just to see the girls so excited, see the coaches so excited for the girls. I mean, Anna Burke had one of the sickest, sweetest backhand scoops off the bag and went and touched the bag on first and made a heck of a play. And our whole infield went and just bombarded her. Our coaches were, it was just so fun, and it makes your heart so happy. And it's literally the best. I mean, it's why you do this, to see moments like that. So, yeah, no kidding. If I wasn't such a poor cameraman, I would have got it, put it on there.
Come on.
Hey, I'm working on it. But these girls are excited to play. Even though they're on the road a lot, they have some great opportunities. And any time that you can go out and play a game, it's another opportunity to get better. So regardless if we're on the road or at home, we're excited to go out and play and hopefully bring home some W's.
Not a lot of time to think about it as well, and important to get rest in between because we got so many games on the road in such a short time there. Let's keep going here. Newt, let's talk about lacrosse, and let's start with the girls first. And we talked last week about the strong play from your goalie and how she's been doing early on. But we also talked about the voluminous amount of shots she's been facing and the amount of saves she's had to make early in the season, far more than I'm sure she would like, and also your coaching staff would like. And unfortunately, that run kind of continued this past week, in particular against Seton and against a very, very good team and Marymount over in the CHL. Had a couple days off now to kind of refresh and reset things over the weekend. How have they used that time in between matches there?
Oh, well, definitely just, practice time and a little rest time. And those girls go extremely hard. And Coach Hardiman does a good job of getting them in the weight room with Coach Sabo and keeping them fresh. It's a long year. And so we want to make sure at the end of the year that we're more healthy and more fit than we were at the beginning of the year. But you're right. I mean, Alyssa Grody, does a great job in the goal for us. And you're talking about playing Marymount, who is one of the absolute best lacrosse teams around. And, when you schedule those games, I mean, we schedule them for a reason. We know they are going to be very, very, very difficult games, but we want our girls to play the best teams out there. We want them to see that because we aspire to be, that good one of these days in our program. And so if we're going to be that good, we've got to play the teams that are there. And so, again, it's great for us to see. It's not, the results aren't always great, but, you have to look past those sometimes, in order to get where you want to go. So, but we got some good situations. We got, we're going tonight, traveling over to Bartels Road and Reese Kincaid, Olivia Leonard, Jessica Swaney. I mean, those kids are so excited to get after it tonight. And we're just, we're ready to cheer them on, and we expect big things from them.
Obviously, huge rivalry. It always is when Anderson and Bartels Road meet up, no matter the sport, no matter the discipline. But Zach, before we talk about the boys here, I'll just ask both of you, who wins?
Anderson High School.
Come on.
Zach.
Ain't no doubt. I'll answer that one.
No, I know you're bleeding orange and black, Newt, but we also have to remember that your compadre over there is a Bartels Road Athletics Hall of Famer. So I feel like sometimes I have to put him to the test. So Zach,
you can put me to any test you want. My blood comes out now. Every once in a while, I just nick myself, and all of a sudden, orange comes out. So, hey, we're rolling AHS all day, baby.
That was part of his interview, Jason. He had to get his finger pricked to see what color he bled. If he bled that maroon stuff, he was gone.
And thankfully, it hasn't mutated and changed back since he's been there. Otherwise, we may not have Zach's services here on the podcast. So that's good. Keep that in mind, fans. That Anderson fans, that's good. We're still on the right path there. Zach, let me talk to you about the boys' side of things in lacrosse, and kind of an up and down season. And this past week, probably a week they just as soon move on from after losing to Lebanon, to Oak Hills, and to your alma mater, Bartels Road there. So it's been a kind of a yo-yo season. They lose 3 in a row to start the year, then win a couple in a row. Now they've dropped 3 straight once again. How frustrated are the players and maybe even the coaches right now at just the inconsistency that they've had to start the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime that you kind of go through a little rough patch or get some losses, that it always kind of, it tests you. I mean, you can either kind of bury your head down and get to work, or you can kind of let it linger. So the good news is we're done with spring break. We're past that. And we're rolling up with the conference play and getting going. So we have Milford on Wednesday, which is another great opportunity. I mean, Milford is rolling right now. I mean, they beat Elder. They had some really good wins. So that's another, hammer that we're going to be facing. But, to be honest, yesterday was, even though it was a tough result against Turpin, it was just so fun again to see now that kids are able to come and watch the games. To see our guys dressed up for the Turpin game, everybody knew that lacrosse team was playing Turpin, and all the kids were excited. Everybody was kind of getting the vibe back of being able to get out there. And that even though we lost, it was still so fun to be able to have the kids there, have parents there, and just kind of have an atmosphere and almost a sense of normalcy, even though people are still wearing masks and socially distanced. To have more people in the stands and to have kids there is, it's everything. So we're hoping to bounce back against Milford and hopefully get some W's and move this thing in the right way moving forward.
Newt, before we talk about the most recent outing for the track and field teams at the Coaches Classic over the weekend, Zach talked about coming out of spring break, and now we're kind of, you can essentially say we've got we're looking towards the final stretch run of the school year. You've got about 6 weeks or so roughly left in the school year. Do you get the sense from your coaches and players across all your spring sports that now that we're out of spring break, they've gotten that one final shot of adrenaline, like, okay, we've got our last break out of the way. Now it's full steam ahead?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And, you like as a coach, you like when that spring break is early in the season, so you can get it out of the way, because it is a bump in the road, because,
Yeah.
I'm coming from a baseball background, but I never once went on spring break in my entire life. And sometimes, it's the only opportunity, I guess, for families to go, and they go. So, but it's very disruptive to the spring sports, because we have so many games that you have to schedule games over spring break. So it can be disruptive to a team if you let it.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's always good when that's early in the year, so you can get it behind you, and then you just lay down the hammer and go. And so we are all very excited about looking forward and what we got. And I know our coaches are, that's for sure.
I have to imagine also you were excited to see the results coming in from the Coaches Classic, which I talked about, took place over the weekend, not only for your boys track and field, but also the girls as well. I could go down and list all the accomplishments and all the results for the boys and the girls, but we don't have that kind of time here today. So I'll ask you, Newt, kind of take us through the highlights of the Coaches Classic. How do you think the teams did, and maybe an individual or two who stood out to you?
Yeah, well, it was weird in that it was a shortened event because of lightning and stuff like that. I mean, it was, if you've ever seen the movie Ghostbusters, man, that's exactly what that night looked like above that big old building. I mean, it was crazy out there at Ross. But our kids stayed through it and fought through it. And after a delay, went back at it. But there were some events that were closed off. For instance, our girls finished second, and one of our best events is Paige Elliff and Aid North in the discus, and they didn't get a chance to do that. So that would have been great points added for us. But
Sure.
I think the big thing is to see, we had on the boys side, we had 11 kids set PRs, and that's personal records for those of us that did. It took me like 2 years to understand what a PR was. So
Public relations.
So you got, I mean, just using two kids as an example, you got Bobby Stanyard and you got Brandon Philhauer. Those two kids throw the shot put in the discus. and our kids, Joe Walla does a great job with our kids. They're like they're a family. They're a pod. I mean, this group is of our throwers, but you see that these kids, they battle each other all day long. Sean Gibbons in the discus, but Brandon Philhauer and Bobby Stanyard are two freshmen, and both of them, what you want to see is a gradual increase, as the year goes on. And both of them set personal records in the shot put and the discus. So, I mean, that's awesome to see. And then, you got girls. We got Kate Dorco. It's her first season running track. And here she is doing a little bit of everything for us, comes in third in the long jump and runs a PR in a 400. You got, Catherine Dorsey, who's our, go-to right there for sure. And she's winning the Coaches Classic 400. I mean, that's huge. Came down that stretch there, final stretch, came in, pulled it out. But then you got kids like a Kendall Peoples and, who's a senior, who's been to that state track meet before. And, she's running, and you can see her laboring a little bit, but she's getting after it. And then I see her in the training room yesterday. And our trainer says, "Hey, we got to get this looked at now." So it's a young lady who's hurt, that's doing everything she possibly can to continue her season. And now the trainer is saying, hey, no more. You need to go see. We got to get this taken care of.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. I mean, you got kids that are just busting their tail end, and that's cool to see. We've got a number of those out there, and we're just excited. We got JV today out at Elder, and we got a varsity meet out at Harrison Friday. And so we're super excited about the progress these kids are making.
PRs. That's all you can ask for. Kind of similar to what we talked about in the pool. You're not always competing against the opponents. You're competing against the clock, and continue to get those PRs lower as far as the races go. The distance is better as far as the discus, shot put, pole vault, long jump, all that kind of stuff. It's all you can ask for in building towards the postseason. Zach, let me move on to you. Our last topic we're going to talk about here today, and that's your tennis team. We talked last week about how they had just been dump trucking people really for the first week or so into the regular season. That continued for most of last week, 7-0, heading into a buzzsaw in Seven Hills last Friday. And Seven Hills is just, for those that don't know, they are so good. And they take it to you. They win the meet 5-0. And so the first loss of the season for your team, unfortunately, still 7-1, and it really in a good spot as far as the league goes. Any level of concern right now coming out of that Seven Hills matchup, or any kind of doubt, or are they just looking at it as kind of, hey, we ran into a team that is perennially one of the better, not only in the area, but in the state?
I think it's always a good test. Anytime that you get to go up against a team of that caliber, it kind of gets you to see where you're at. I mean, we're striving to be that. And right now we had a really good stretch. And I think that honestly is going to help us because it makes us hungrier. I mean, when you got three kids like Payson, Ben, and Stanley Zhao, I mean, holy cow, those guys are hammers. And I was out there watching the Seven Hills match, and wow. I mean, my eyes were hard. I had a headache just from how fast it was going back and forth. I mean, it was incredible to watch. Seven Hills is awesome. And what I love about tennis is the kids are so respectful, and they're competing their tails off against each other. But at the same time, I mean, Seven Hills kids and our guys are over there saying, man, that's a heck of a shot. Like, you played that unbelievable. I mean, it's just so cool to see. But I definitely think that the Seven Hills loss is going to make us hungrier, realize that we still have a long way to go to get to where we want to be. And we have a lot of matches coming up here soon. So we're excited to get those boys back out there and hopefully finish out this little stretch in a good note.
Newt, when you see the results come in and knowing how good of a team and club that Seven Hills is, and not only this year, but is year to year, how far do you think the gap is between your team and a team like Seven Hills? Do you feel like, there's a gap, or do you feel like, hey, we're right there, we're not that far off, tinker a little bit here, a little bit there, and we're right there with an elite team like Seven Hills?
Yeah, well, that's why you play these teams, because you want to find out where you are. And, they beat us 5-0. We play them in 2 weeks. They're not going to beat us 5-0. They might still beat us, but we're going to scratch and claw, because again, the important thing is we're bouncing in there. We're feeling great about ourselves. And then we got smacked in the face,
Yeah.
So our kids got to learn how to get up from that. And they definitely will. But, it's that little shot of reality that you get, like, hey, I can get better. I do need to get better if I want to get here. So just like Zach said, I mean, that's going to help us in the long run. So, getting beat 5-0, we're not right there, but we're not super far away. And so, if we played them again in a couple of weeks, I would love to see that the progress we make. And, we might not beat them, but, we're going to come close, So, but guys like Tommy Hadley, and we beat Milford yesterday. Tommy Hadley and Bradley Caldwell. it's cool to see, they go to a third set, super tiebreaker and all this stuff. And, it's the first year these two have ever played together. Bradley Caldwell's never played tennis here before. He's been a baseball player. And Tommy Hadley's never, he's just a sophomore and wasn't able to play tennis last year. So seeing those two work together, that was awesome. And we got Ben Zhao. Ben Zhao last week, he wins the first set over at Bartels Road, loses the second, sets down 3-0, and comes back and wins 7-6. I mean, if you're not involved in those kind of matches, then you're never going to have what it takes to be the best you can be. And so when you go through those and you have to reach down deep and you realize you do have more than what you're given, that's when we're going to be the best we can be.
And to wrap things up here this week, a little short on time. We normally have a little bit more back and forth banter, but a lot of business to take care of. I know you guys have a very busy schedule here today, but a lot more to look forward to in the coming weeks, guys. We certainly appreciate some of your time here today.
Yeah. Hey, we want to give one final shout out. I know it's a winter sport, but we're still going. AQT, the academic quiz team, they go in the regionals. They are in the regionals here, finally getting after it on Saturday, the 17th here. So we'll report on that next week, but we're super excited about them getting a chance to further their season.
We'll report on that, and we'll find out how poorly Chris and Zach did in trying to answer some of those questions.
I won't even know those words. I mean, it'll be crazy.
We'll see. We'll see if Zach and you would get a thesaurus for Newt between now and next week, and we'll report on that and much more coming up on next week. But for right now, our thanks to Chris Newton, and Zach McCormick joining us for This Week in Anderson High School Sports here on ASP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
Thank you, boys.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
We'll be back to normal next week.
Okay, sounds good.
See you guys.
Talk to you soon.